And we're back, and we are, well, just shy of the highest point of today's race.
Yes, the first GPM we're just coming on to in the very, very close future. The Côte de Copstal, which is, as I explained before we went away, is quite a serious challenge. It's 1.3 kilometres at 8.8%. Now, for those of us that occasionally get out for a couple of kilometres on a Wednesday night or a Sunday morning, just stop and think about that. That's a decent climb, 8.8% over 1.3 kilometres. And whilst I appreciate the road surface is very good, that is a challenging climb, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the peloton as we go up. I would imagine we're quite early in the race that the pace won't be too high, but there will be some women going off the back.
Tiffany Cromwell all the way at the front. Next to her, of course, the woman in yellow, Lisa Klein. Lepisto is coming to the front. Hannah Barnes, of course, with those British colours on her sleeve, being the former national champion of her country. And at the back, it's still suffering for riders like Becky Rabel, for example, the number 172 from the British national team.
I was talking to Hayley Simmons before the race, and she's not particularly happy with her performance, as you mentioned earlier. But the bike is still very new to her, and she's getting used to the bike and racing on that bike, racing with disc brakes as well for the first time. So it's something that she's learning to come to terms with in the middle of a race, which makes it just that little bit more pressure on her as she tries to navigate her way through.
There we go, trying to get a little bit of a head start. The ladies in pink are from the Jos Veron Lady Force team, an amateur team from the Netherlands. Lovely pink jerseys, and they are at the front with several of their riders. Maybe just want to have a go at that mountain jersey. Would be a nice reward, of course, for one of the smaller teams here in the race. We're passing through Kopstal, which is one of the villages here, and if we go out of the village, we go up.
Yep, they're just about to take that right-hand turn now with, looks like Jip van den Bos on the front.
With Majerus, with Amy Peters, Susanna Andersen is there as well for the Norwegian national team.
This is where Bulls may well look to put Lisa Klein under pressure. She's not as good a climber as perhaps Majerus is herself, and they'll perhaps look to just take some of the sting and the power out of her legs as they come into the as they for the sprint finish at the end. And as we've already explained, it is an undulating course, and whilst they're on the first GPM and the most challenging one at the moment, there are two further GPMs which come on the circuit. They cover that hill 5 times, and it will sap the legs unless they find themselves in a good position.
This should be Hayley Simmons all the way at the back.
Yeah.
Of course, she had a wonderful Commonwealth game with a podium finish there on the Australian Gold Coast, but she is not really looking that happy on this course.
She has a very, very interesting story in coming to cycling quite late in life. She was a rower whilst at school, and then a rower whilst at Cambridge University, but then found it
boring.
No, she I think she felt she had achieved all she was going to achieve, having raced in the number 2 boat on the ladies' university boat race, and then went to cycling, and she's done very, very well with 2 national championships in time trial. She's done well in the road race national championships as well, and had a road win last year at the Lotto Thuringen Rundfahrt. She's just about hanging in there, but as you can see, there's a number of people that are really, really struggling here. Number 143 is Tara Gins, a Belgian girl from the Healthmate Cycle Live team.
Also, Femke Geers, she's actually riding my bike, which is really weird to see. This is probably as fast as my bike ever went uphill, Owen.
Yeah.
So good effort on them. It must have been a real blow to the team to have all their bikes stolen during yesterday's race. That is really, really horrible.
Yeah, they've dealt with it with very good humour. We were talking to them earlier, and they've dealt with it with really, really good humour. I think some of the riders, as I said earlier, the bikes are their own. and some of the riders have had a bit of an upgrade in the bikes that have been lent to them by other teams. I know Lauren Murphy, who's the former British junior national champion, was very, very pleased when Movistar offered her a Campagnolo Super Record equipped Canyon to ride.
Well, another big thank you to the Valcar Wow Deals and Movistar teams for helping out the Maaslandster amateur team to at least continue the race. It's not the ideal situation, not riding your own bike, not with your own settings and geometry, but at least they could continue this race and would not have driven to Luxembourg in vain.
But what was lovely was walking around the team parking. There were people coming over and offering help, and you get this lovely feeling of community, within the peloton, and that's a really nice feeling. And I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to the women's peloton. You hear of such things have happened in the men's World Tour races, and teams have offered each other bikes.
Course, yeah.
It is a real community. Those guys that go out, or those guys and girls rather, that go out on a Sunday with their clubs.
David de Jong at the front, and a very impressive sprint by Astana to get these points, and I think she got them. One of the young Astana riders taking points on the climb. The rider from Norway must have taken 3 points. We will hopefully have confirmation of who took those points. And at the back, riders are struggling to catch back on after this, rather demanding hill. One of the riders is Rona Callender from the British national team, and Chantal Hofman, a rider from Luxembourg, all the way at the back here, local rider, and of course she wants to hang on, but you must not underestimate the pace of the peloton at the moment. It's a tough course.
Yeah, and you can see the cars that are coming past. They're the race directors' cars, the commissaires' cars, and when they come past you, you know you're a little bit in trouble. In that the race direction has decided that there is now sufficient gap between you and the main part of the race that they can put a car in without you gaining any form of advantage from being behind it. So it must be a very depressing situation when a car comes past this early with 60 kilometres left at this 97-kilometre stage.
Well, after that effort up Côte de Kopstal, it's time for a little refueling. We're about 1 hour into the race. Exactly 1 hour into the race, which means that the average pace, Owen, is quite impressive. We are going towards a average speed of almost 40, 38, 38 and a half, which is good.
And after what I said about no aero advantage from being behind the cars, you can see that these riders here are getting a bit of a lift as they go around the outside now, but they'll certainly have benefited a little bit from getting behind those cars. And there's a little bit of a craft to that, and that's dipping in and out and taking every single little bit of advantage you can whilst getting back on.
So now we're coming back towards Steinfort. So we're riding in a western direction towards the lovely little village of Steinfort, which we should thank for their kind hospitality in staging this first stage. Anouska Koster is countering this attack. She had a wonderful 5th place yesterday, which was a result that she was really proud of.
Yeah, she's a very, very strong rider, an impressive, aggressive rider, and it's always good to see her attack. I spoke to her briefly at the start this morning. She's still quite young. She's only 24 and has already been the Dutch national champion. When you look at the top of the women's sport and you see how many Dutch women are in there, to have managed to have been the national champion is very impressive indeed. There's another former national champion in that little break of 4 that's forming is Elena Cecchini, who is twice or 3 times the Italian national champion. You can see the bands on the cuffs of her jersey there.
Always helps us commentators out when we need to recognize riders. Bettizzolo was the rider who took the 5 points, so she is the virtual leader at the moment in that mountain jersey classification.
And you can see one of the riders on a borrowed bike there is Eri Yonamine is just on the little back of this group. You've got Lotta Lepisto coming across as well. I really don't think that this is going to be allowed to stick. And there goes Yonamine now.
Yep, she was the one on Twitter asking everybody for help. She got one of the bikes from the Valca PPM team, the Italian team, and well, she's racing it pretty well.
Yeah.
And
she's got another Italian bike though. She's gone from a Colnago, from a regular team,
well,
Wiggle High Five, onto a Pinarello there by the looks of it.
The riders are trying to catch back on. A large group has managed to catch back on. I don't know if this is all the riders who were dropped on the climb. Looks like most of them managed to come back, with Raybold here and Calendar. Also Chantal Hofman at the back, Pugmona. And this is a very nice attack with, is that Rachel Nyland? And Sarah Rijkers.
I think it is, yeah.
And Sarah Rijkers from the Expressa team.
Yeah, Rachel was off the front at Liège-Bastogne-Liège last week, and said that was a payback for not having been able to contribute to the team earlier in the week when she was unwell. But I'm pretty sure that's her off the front. But
we'll see when we get some race numbers to
two riders off
confirm.
the front. Most of the big teams would be happy to just let two go up the road. They'd be quite happy to just, those two riders, they'll be able to control them. They don't want to let a big group up the road on a short 97-kilometer stage.
And well, just as about this group was catching back on, we had this little increase in the pace, which is terrible if you're racing. But the race seems to be on, which is good watching. The course here really invites to race it properly. And of course, with the World Tour teams and some amateur teams, the differences in quality are pretty big.
Yeah. Clearly, by definition, the amateur riders are not full-time riders, and some of the riders on the professional UCI teams aren't full-time either. But then you have got the bigger teams, all of whom are full-time professional athletes, and they just have a massive advantage. Not only can they train better, but they can
rest better.
Yeah, they can recover better, which allows them to train better. You know, there's this virtuous circle. And here we go, Movistar again on the front attacking, which is how they've approached the season, a brand new team, and they've been so aggressive. And I was talking to the team manager before the race this morning, and he was saying that is something they've wanted to do, that in recent years some of the Spanish riders have not been aggressive enough in races. And as a consequence, he wants to instill in the young Spanish riders, he wants to instill in them this sense of attacking and tactical nous. And you can see they may not, at the moment at least, have the riders who are able to win big races, but they are attacking and making their jersey seen, but also educating. It is a sort of long-term project to improve the state of Spanish women's cycling, and if it achieves that's much better.
Well, I was just about to say a little lull in all the attacking, but there we go again.
Yeah.
And well, the Movistar women have really embraced this new tactic of going all in and making the races attractive. We saw that in races like Binda with Gosia Jasinska, for example, who's been one of the key players of that team.
Yeah, they've deliberately got in some foreign talent in order just to add some experience and education to the riders. And Nayland, as we can see here, is one of those. She was second in the worlds back in behind Marianne Vos
on the Kouberg,
yeah, back in 2012.
Wealth of experience there by Rachel Nyland. Flipping the elbow, hoping that the Astana rider is going to take over. But that little lull in the action did cause most of the riders to catch back on. Last bit here for Rona Calendar.
Nearly there.
And
nearly.
this is the hardest part if you're riding at 1 meter. And you can see it's pretty windy out there. So if you just, if you've got some headwind and you just drop by the peloton, is the most terrible feeling ever.
It's a feeling of utter, and when it's happened to me, it's just a
helplessness,
feeling of utter desperation, that you desperately want to be in the arms of the welcoming peloton, but they're actually not that welcoming at all.
Well, this is a great moment for the riders who've been dropped on that really steep first GPM won by Sofia Bertizzolo. So a little bit time to rest, and some signalling again by the motorbikes that cars are coming up, and you can see the riders, they are quite considerately also signalling themselves to help out the colleagues and also warn their colleagues of some upcoming problems.
It's not like this part of the world is particularly full of traffic. The city, clearly any capital city is busier than the countryside, but the countryside is really quiet. I think we've probably caught every single car that's out and about today. In the Danish jersey, just taking a drink there, is Christina Sigard. Elena Cecchini on the front.
I think most of the riders have managed to return now, Owen.
And then the next climb, as I've already explained, is
will take a while.
It's just going to keep sapping their legs, and it will split the peloton. Having seen what I've seen already.
Well, especially with these differences in the pace, that is particularly hard on some riders. It's like a very tough interval training. This is great. Yeah, if you ride a constant pace, you're doing pretty well. But all these differences in pacing can make it really difficult. And of course, we've got really experienced riders, and also we've got 18-year-olds who've never done international racing. So the difference between those riders is pretty big.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for Owen or me, you can just tune in to Twitter and send us a message. That is Owen Rogers, or my Twitter handle is @TourDeJosé. So basically, it's Tour de France, but then with my name in it.
There's not many riders that have come out in long sleeves today. It's not that cold, but it's certainly not as warm as it was for yesterday's prologue. But you can see a few, as Rachel Nayland was on the front there with a long sleeve jersey. Some with arm warmers to strip off as they get really warm towards the closing stages of the race.
We're about 45 kilometers in. It's a little bit of a moment when nothing happens, when riders are refueling and recovering from the first hour of racing. So we have a little time to honor the sponsors of this race, who make this race possible and also make it possible for you to view it at home. So we'll be back shortly. The finish line, actually. where people are waiting for the first passage of the finish. We have the results of the first mountain sprint. Of course, we already knew that Sofia Bertizzolo took 5 points in that sprint. 3 points were for Norwegian rider Ingrid Lorvik, and 1 remaining point for Lotte Soudal ladies rider Demi de Jong. So that was the result of the first GPM. The next GPM is going to be in a little over 20 kilometers. And that's a pretty short one as well.
Yeah.
It's only 300 to 400 meters.
It is quite steep, but yeah, it's a short little dig essentially. But once again, with all these things, it depends on how they're raced. So it's 500 meters at 7.2 kilometers. I have to say thank you to, I now have to pronounce this.
But you do.
Las de Queta Barua.
Ah, yeah, the Basque
Yeah,
people.
they're absolutely fantastic at providing profiles for races. So thank you very much to them.
And their home race in the Bira in the Basque Country is going to be next month, 3rd week of May, and that's a very challenging race as well.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
I heard that it's going to be live on a very prominent sports network, Owen. Mm-hmm.
I heard that I'm going to be there.
Aha.
I'm especially looking forward to the
I can
to the wine and food.
Yeah, and rain probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's probably going to rain.
Yeah.
We are now on the local circuit. And this is also the first time we're going to do that Montée de Keurig. And that Montée de Keurig, that is actually our GPM.
Yeah, it's ridden 5 times, but it only counts to the GPM classification on 2 of those occasions. This is not one of those. So expect them to be ridden differently on different laps. As the riders who are trying to score points in the classification will attempt to get off the front in order to score those points, and then perhaps just sit up and take a rest for the next time, or alternatively they may use that as a launch pad for something a little more long range. I love this perspective of a peloton when you see the peloton from behind. Again, you can see Hayley Simmons is just hanging in there at the back. I wonder if that's just where she's comfortable, sat at the back, and if she has any ambitions of anything else, she'll just wheedle her way through the peloton before launching any kind of attack.
Not everybody likes riding in the peloton, though. It can be quite demanding and quite challenging as well. This was the GPM, but it will take another 2 tours before points will be awarded. And to remind you, Sofia Bertizzolo, she took 5 points.
And we've got an attack off the front there. Look,
yeah, one of the Movistar again. They're really racing it.
I wonder if they're particularly going for it, because I asked them the question earlier in the day.
That might be the case,
just
Owen.
to prove me right.
That might be the case. We have to stick with this image for a while, and that's why we missed showing you that attack, because we have problems with the reception of camera 1, so the camera at the front of the peloton. We know that one of the riders has escaped, that there was a counterattack from one of the Park Hotel Valkenburg riders, but Motor 1 at the front of the peloton is having some technical difficulties at the moment. So hopefully we can solve this, and if they arrive at the finish line, which will be shortly,
yeah, it's very shortly,
in about 2K, we can hopefully show you some images from that fixed camera on the finish line and on the climb into the finish.
Yeah, you can see the riders. There may even be 2. I saw a Park Hotel rider that was off the front as well, though whether they've been taken back into the peloton, I'm not sure. If it's a lone rider, whoever it is, I'm sure the peloton will be very happy to let them go. The pace may slacken off a little bit now an attacker's stuck.
Oh, that is a recurring bidon.
Yeah, rebounding bidon, yeah.
It was just...
and you can see that the peloton are just, you know, anywhere between 35 and 40k. Now that's still a decent pace. But the signpost seems to be happy about it.
Sorry. And the riders at the front of the peloton seem to be happy with the situation as well. So the rider up the front is probably not a big threat to the overall general classification led by Lisa Klein.
And you can just see them coming up to the line. You can see that it's a pretty decent little ascent. And as a consequence, it will make a sprint finish a different sprint finish. It's not just a plain old bunch sprint.
And we are back in action with camera one. This is a very technical corner, and then we come around this corner, and there's the uphill of today's arrival. And we're halfway into the race, so some of the women will have trouble already keeping that pace up. And this is the village of Steinfort that has been so hospitable to us, and has been last year as well, because it takes something from a village that you invite a bike race, because roads will be closed. There's going to be some inconvenience for the inhabitants, but they've been most welcoming, and that is what you need when you organize a bike race. For example, in the Netherlands we have Ster ZLM Tour, a men's race, just before the Tour de France, and they had trouble finding villages to cooperate, and the race was cancelled.
Yeah.
And the same happened with the women's race in France, Route de France.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get a bib number. It's
126.
126. And I'll get the start list.
Races are very, very much reliant on local towns, villages or communes, providing them both with sponsorship and also the facility of the town in order to host the race. And certainly the three sponsors, the three communes that are involved in this race do sponsor the race as well. So we have the Ville de Luxembourg, we have Steinfort today, and Garniche tomorrow. They contribute towards the running of the race, and races wouldn't exist without the support of the local communes.
Alba Teruel is the lone leader at the moment, but her lead is, well, a mere 8 to 9 seconds. 5 laps to go, which means 5 times 9.4 kilometers.
The peloton will be happy with one rider away up the road. She's only 21. She's had a good year. She was 4th at Dottigny recently, one of the recent one of the lower ranked races, certainly not a World Tour race. And perhaps her best finish was Madrid last year at the final Women's World Tour race of the 2017 season, when she finished 10th. Home roads maybe, but that was a fast race, and it was a warm race as well.
All the way at the back of the race, just at the finish line, well, over a minute behind the peloton, are 3 riders from the same team, from the Healthmate Cycle Life team, a Belgian team, all the way at the back, and I think that's it for now. I think we've got all the riders at the finish line now. Here's some riders with Femke Geris, Puk Mone and Emily Wadsworth all the way at the back. She was all the way at the front at the start, which is really sad. They're just before, just ahead of the broom wagon with with the three of them all the way at the back of the race.
Teruel here taking advantage of the little descent. And at the bottom of here, they'll take a right-hander, and it flattens out, and then it goes through a gorge. And that's quite demanding, little gorge. We rode it last year, and it is certainly very beautiful, especially with the new green leaves and the beautiful blossom at the side of the road. As you can see, it is a beautiful part of the country, and we are essentially on the edge of the Ardennes, where the World Tour races were last week. We're just at the bottom edge of those particular hills.
Current lead of Alba Teruel, 15 seconds. Taking advantage of the aero position on the downhill here. This is a pretty fast downhill, but also a pretty tight turn to the right here. But she has got good skills here. Belle de Gast was leading the peloton for Park Hotel Valkenburg with Amy Pieters, Stiltjens, Amia Lucic, Van der Bos, Hannah Barnes, Lara Vicelli and Alexis Ryan also at the front of that group. So 113 riders started. We've got 110 at the finish line, meaning we're missing about 3 riders at the moment who haven't crossed the finish line or maybe even abandoned the race. Average speed at the moment, 39 kilometers an hour.
That's a decent pace on an undulating course, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I might be able to manage it on my motorbike, but I would struggle greatly on a push bike.
Push bike, I love that word.
Sorry, very, very anglophone. Yeah, my pedal cycle.
We got a question about mandatory live streaming of World Tour events by my Eurosport colleague Sal Miguel. I wondered, Owen. I think you know these kind of things. Isn't it in the World Tour regulations that you have to have live images or at least a summary?
Yeah. I believe it's a 20, without looking up the regulations as we sit here, I believe it is a 26-minute highlights package, which has to be available within a certain time from the finish. Has to be available to broadcasters. So if organisers provide coverage and no one takes it, that's not the organisers' fault, unless they price the broadcasters out of the game. But there is a requirement for World Tour events to provide either a highlights package, or alternatively, as I say, live streaming or live broadcast to broadcasters. And as I just explained, to reiterate, those highlights packages have to be taken by a broadcaster. If your local broadcaster decides that they're not going to broadcast them, then the race becomes invisible. And that's an absolute tragedy in sporting terms. It really is, because some races are just fantastic, and they're not seen.
Well, if you can't watch the race, you can't judge the race.
Exactly.
And a lot of people judge races, especially women's races, while they have never even taken the time to watch one. Lovely view here of Alba Teruel's bike. Like we said before, complete equality in logistics between the Movistar men's team with big hitters like Alejandro Valverde, Nairo Quintana, Mikel Landa, Marc Soler, of course, winner of Paris-Nice, and the women's team, who only started last August, I think. I think the Madrid Challenge was actually their first race.
No.
Where they were announced,
yeah,
sorry.
That's right.
But the equality in logistics, availability of trainers, facilities, that will make these women better.
No doubt. There's no doubt. Everything behind the team, behind the women's side of the team, is exactly the same as it is behind the men's side of the team. And that is the same with Sunweb. Understand it's the same with Mitchelton Scott. That they are the same team. that doesn't necessarily have to be the template for every women's team. Look at Bulls Dolmans, who are by far and away the most the highest achieving team in the women's peloton at the moment. But so it doesn't have to be the template for every team. But if a world tour or a men's professional team wants to have a women's outfit, well, this is the template to follow. Absolute inclusion.
Amber Teruel was born in 1996 in August, which makes her 21 years old. She comes from Benicànim in the province of Valencia, which is the province south of Catalonia on the eastern Mediterranean coast of Spain. And she's been a pro since 2015 with the then Lointec team. She's been racing in a lot of races in Spain, but also races in Europe, dwars door Vlaanderen, Deense 8, driedaagse de Pannen, Ronde van Drenthe, etc. So she's been racing quite a lot. Her best result has been quite recently in the races in Spain, Trofeo Roldan and Trofeo Ciudad de Caspe. Those are the Spanish National Cup races, where she came in second twice. So she's doing pretty well. She was fourth in Grand Prix d'Ottigny in Belgium. So she's doing pretty well at the moment. She's having a good shape.
Yeah, I think it's the fourth place at Dottigny is the result of greatest note, because whilst doing well in the Spanish Cup races is fantastic and it will bring confidence and race time, the standard isn't as high as in the UCI races, and as a consequence, it's not as good a proving ground as one's abilities. And Teruel's fourth at Dottigny, I think, is a good result that she can take into the rest of the season. And bang, we're on to the GPM climb once again. I believe that is. There's someone cycling up the road here on the left-hand side.
She's having a nice pace.
Yeah, she's got a nice rhythm there, nice position. She seems relatively comfortable despite having to get out the saddle there. She seems comfortable. And I've mentioned before that not all women's UCI teams are fully professional. Movistar are, I'm told. They are all paid sufficient money in order to be full-time professional athletes. And that's the effort that Movistar are investing in their athletes. You can't complain about that. It's a fantastic step forward.
Back to our Curik, Côte de Curik, which is the climb that Alba Teruel is challenging at the moment. The next time we're going to pass this climb, we're going to have some points awarded. So that will be in the next lap. This will hurt, but will not bring you any points.
Interesting that race direction car has just come past her, so I wonder if she's just about to be caught. We saw the peloton go take the right-hander onto the bottom of this climb, but it'll be interesting just to have a look back, which I think we're going to get now, and see that the peloton are quite close. Looks like some action at the front of the peloton with some attacking going on there. As I said earlier, this is an ideal springboard for a late escape, perhaps on the last lap, but certainly any time round, this is the place to give it a go if you've got the legs to get over the climb.
Alba Teruel, she got into cycling because of her dad, who's been a big fan of the sport and really wanted his daughter to do well. She's also been the U23 champion in cyclocross in Spain.
Is she?
Yep. According to the wonderful Movistar website, which we already praised yesterday.
It's a great website, and you can even find out how to pronounce riders' names on there, because my Spanish is very poor, despite having a wife that speaks Spanish.
Well, it doesn't rub off on you if your wife speaks Spanish, though. You have to learn it yourself.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Côte de Curik done for the second time. Next time we'll have points classification in the mountain ranking led by Sofia Bertizzolo, ahead of Ingrid Lorvik and Demi de Jong, 5, 3 and 1 point. She's struggling a little bit now, but this image is giving the idea that the peloton is pretty close, which they are not. They're still at about like 15 to 18 seconds behind Teruel.
Yeah, the camera foreshortens the distance by a significant amount, and she's still got a little bit of a gap. But as I say, the car has been pulled out now, and as a consequence, it'll be interesting to see whether or not the peloton let her dangle there. Certainly, if the peloton is
well, they're not chasing.
No, if she's too close, it may encourage other people to attack and bridge to her. But often it may prevent other people going after her.
She keeps giving, but we have an hour of racing left. At the moment, we're at 1.5 hours in, so our estimation of a 2.5 hour race was pretty accurate.
Kind of goes by too quickly, I think.
Well, always does. Well,
like Christmas Day.
Not a big Christmas fan, but that's another story. We're just waiting for some action. Nicole Hanselman, she was dropped for a little while, but she's safely back in the peloton. And of course, the Biglet team, Cervelo Biglet team, is pretty small with 4 riders, so they're going to need every help that they can get to help Cecile Uttrup-Ludwig and also Ashley Moolman. But of course, the Danish rider did very well in finishing 3rd yesterday, at a mere second from the winner. Back on that turn, and then we're back towards the finish line for the second time in about 500 meters, 600 meters from that turn.
We can hear the motorcycles at the head of the race just coming past the finish line, and the commentary just coming past the finish line as we speak now. So she's closing in on the second passing of the finish line.
Try to get in some communication with her team director, Jorge Sanz. But to be quite honest, Owen, we are waiting for the fireworks.
Foot down there from number 54.
We're waiting for some fireworks at the moment. 54 is the Kazakhstan rider from Astana, the only one, Zafutinova.
Yeah, very much the mother of the team, being a very young team, and she's 29 years old, so she's very much the elder stateswoman on that particular outfit.
I think she's been on the team for a few years, so she's fluent in Italian as well.
Yep, and double Kazakh road champion. It says here, and having not raced this particular race, you can see some attacks going off the front. I think it was Trek Drops just had a go. I think maybe a Bull Storman's rider went after that little attack there. So up goes the pace on this little climb into the finish. We'll see how much that damages the advantage of Teruel. And she looks like she's suffering now. And here they come behind her. Is that Jos Ferron off the front?
No, that's B Pink.
B Pink.
That's B Pink. We're going to see on our live timing who that is. And the peloton is moving fast.
It's Letizia Borghesi. With Anna Plichter was the Bulls Dolmans rider off the front, and Anushka Costa with the red, white and blue bands round the cuffs of her short sleeve jersey, indicating that she is a former national champion of the Netherlands.
Well, the race speakers just announced that it's 3 laps to go. Yeah, of course, should be 4.
Yes. Yeah.
So I hope that they did not hear that. Time for some refueling, which is always very convenient when you're on a local lap. The soigneurs don't have to drive frantically to a place on the course and be back on time for the finish line. At the finish line, this is a nice view of...
I love these shots. You can see what gear the people are in, and you can see the moving parts of the bike, which I quite like.
Which you're fascinated by.
Yes, yeah. I like bicycles, I think it's safe to say. Teruel in the in a little ring there on the front there. While Borghese is out of the saddle, powering away there in the big ring.
Well, she bridged across on her own, the Italian rider, trying to get the most out of this aero position. Be Pink, one of the smaller Italian teams, but with some experience with, of course, the very experienced Silvia Falsecchi.
Yeah.
Also a very accomplished track rider. This Letizia Borghese is one of the younger riders on the team. She was born in 1998, which makes her 19 years of age.
I often wonder, though, she's got a chin on her Garmin bike computer. I often wonder, as they're touch sensitive, whether or not her chin will change the screen that she was looking at.
Well, Froome might have that problem then.
Yeah, that's right. So I can't actually get my chin that low, not when I'm on the bicycle, at least.
Well, probably not in any other situation either.
If I take the Garmin off the bike, okay.
Yeah, just put it on the kitchen table.
Yeah.
That will be much easier. We've got 2 leaders in this race with, well, 3.5 laps to go. Alba Teruel for the Movistar team and Letizia Borghese for the big Be Pink squad. So we're going to take a little break to give a little bit of credit to the race's sponsor. Back into our race out on the outskirts of Steinfort with our 2 leaders, Letizia Borghese in pink from the,
Be Pink.
Be Pink team.
Exactly, yeah.
Very aptly named, that was the word that I was looking for. And Alba Teruel, who attacked just before our local circuit. This is a shot of the back of the peloton where you can see that the peloton's pretty much lined out, indicating the speed is high.
Yeah, with just 35 kilometres to go, teams will be starting to think about the final and how they're going to influence the final to the best for them. And you can see Wow Deals on the front, and this escape has got seconds to go. I think got one of the motorcycle photographers just coming through out of the way, and the catch is about to be made with just 34 kilometres to go. Wow Deals hammering away there on the front, hence the increase in the pack.
Wow, they got a train going on there with their team leader Sabrina Stiltjens.
I would suggest that they're actually setting up for something quite soon.
Well, Mountain Prize is coming up for the second one. They didn't manage to get any points in the first one, which was Kopstal, but this is the second one, and it's called Côte de Curik, which is only 500 meters long, but it averages just over 700%. We're going to do it in a total of 6 times, and the next time we're going to be there, we're going to award points. Sofia Bertizzolo from the Astana team has got 5 points in that ranking, and see if she will really make a goal out of that mountain jersey. For the moment, no problem with Lisa Klein in the yellow jersey, but of course, Anushka Koster is only 5th in the general classification at 2 seconds, and bearing in mind that we've got 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds at the finish line, and Koster is a very prolific sprinter, that might be a little bit of the plan of the Wow Deals team.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought they'll be going.
Well, they're going
yeah,
full gas.
Anushka Koster is plenty strong enough to tackle these climbs. She may be more of a sprinter, but this isn't the Alps.
No.
She's plenty able to deal with these climbs, and so I would imagine they'll be going for her, despite the fact that Sabrina Stultins isn't that far down on general classification.
She's the last one in this train of 6, indicating that she is the woman that they are riding for. Of course, you can never be fully sure of the team tactics, as we've not been informed by the team directors about the tactics. So it's anyone's guess, and we try to give you our guesses, hoping that we have a little bit of knowledge of this sport. But this is interesting with Pauline Royakkers.
They are absolutely hammering here at the front, and the issue is
damage here.
Yeah, if the tactics are wrong, you've then used up your riders. Still with only with more than 30k to go, you've used up your team, and so that they need. Whatever they're planning, they need it to work. I wonder if they're going to launch Stultins into an attack on the next climb at Zurich. Thank you. Just seems to be slackening the pace off here, and you can see one of the riders just sliding off, and she'll need to take a position in the bunch there to try and keep her pace up. But here we are onto the GPM this time. And we're going to see what's going to happen when the Astana rider's just moving up on the outside.
Yep, Bertizzolo, also Ashley Molman, Christine Majorus is coming towards the front, but Bertizzolo is there. She's now in 2nd place behind Shana Korefar.
Alexis Ryan is just sitting in there at the back. No, it's Ami Lusik, yeah.
Barnes is there as well.
Yeah, this is high-paced stuff. This is what we tune in to watch, really, a bit of fighting going on. Look at the effort going into Anushka Koster's ride up this hill here.
And the grimace also on Ashley Molman's face. Bertizzolo is there. She already got 5 points, and she sprints it here with Koster and Molman. Let's see where the finish line is of this climb.
Molman's in complete control, but Koster's a little bit on the edge here. I think that's Catherine Hammis, just from Trek Drops there.
Bertizzolo's looking pretty strong, getting 5 points again, taking her total up to 10, which should secure her mountain jersey after this stage.
Today, yeah. I was just looking at Koster there. She's clearly got something left, because she looked like she was thinking about going off the front.
It might be a little bit too soon at the moment. But
she goes, they keep Sabrina happy. There's Sabrina now on the front.
Followed by Amy Peters, the Queen of the Mountain classification, the blue jersey.
And that's a gap there. You've got 3, 4, 5 second gap there with 20 odd riders.
Well, it's a little bit, I think it's only 15.
Yeah.
15, 16. So the blue jersey has been decided, very kindly sponsored by WNT Tooling, Ceratizit, who have a great factory here or big factory here in Luxembourg, and are one of the prime sponsors. Of course, we also got a green jersey up for grabs, which is for sprinting, and the points in that jersey will be awarded at the finish line, and the jersey is sponsored by Farai Services.
And there goes Anushka Koster off the front. She's just giving it a little go, and it'll be interesting to see what the Peloton do here. There is certainly a gap. It's a decent gap from this front group of now, which has swelled to probably about 35 riders, perhaps a few more, and then just the others just trying to get back on. But if that climb is raced in the same way on each of the ensuing passes, it will absolutely shred this Peloton, because whilst this is flat, the technicality of the part through Steinfort and over the finish line, and then the other little climbs will split it.
Well, this is tough racing. I think that Sarah Rijkers coming and trying to come across, but we'll have to confirm that a little bit later.
And Movistar again.
So we got 5 points for Bertizzolo. We've got 3 points for Ashley Moorman-Passio and 1 point for Catherine Hammers. Good spot by you, Owen, for the Trek Drops team. This is not Sarah Rijkers, but it is Anouska Koster.
And I think that's Anna Plichter on the front, just bringing it back. Yeah, I still think it's Anna Plichter. They'll be happy that they've reduced the size of the bunch here. They'll be content with that. But with only 28, 29 kilometres left to go, you don't want to let 3 riders off the front, especially if Costa is one of them. It's a good group there. You got Chiquinha. It's a big group now. Yeah, we're back as a full peloton. And once again, we can hear the front of the race just passing by our commentary point here in Steinfort. Bang! Here go Movistar again. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
They're doing an absolute splendid job of making this a real race. Anna Plichter following, Anouska Koster trying to follow, and the front of the peloton, I think it's Elena Cecchini.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, with Ashley Moorman-Passio on a wheel, and it's just coming back together. But it'll be interesting, you know, if this bang, bang, bang constant attacking goes on, or is it just going to happen as they're going through town in the technical part? And they're coming here now up towards the finish line. We can smell the burgers being and the sausages being cooked outside. There's a fair bit of beer being going down as well.
Yeah, but not with us. We have to stay
Sadly,
focused there.
no.
No, it's professional racing. Elisa Balsamo also there at the front of the race. Lisa Klein still looking pretty solid.
Yeah, she's got a bit of a grimace on though, hasn't she?
But, well, the way things stand, she has to either win the race or take some bonus seconds, or she'll be out of that yellow jersey.
That was Sabrina Stultins on the front with Majerus, Amia Lusik, Moorman-Passio, Sissi Ludwig, Utrub Ludwig, Elisa Balsamo, Letizia Paternoster, Rachel Naylan, Letizia Borghese, and Sofia Bertizzolo. They're the first 10 across the line, and it's just starting to get a little bit ragged on the front here with the race just starting to break up. You'll see Stultins is putting a big effort in, and everyone's leaving it to the local rider in the Luxembourg National Champions jersey, Christine Majerus, to just close that gap up.
We got riders on the road everywhere. A lot of riders have been dropped from that peloton after that attack by Anouska Koster.
Yeah, we still only got 94 riders cross the line at the end of that lap.
This is all the way at the back, and judging from the shape of this peloton, the pace is very, very high. Nobody's really managed to get away apart from Alba Teruel and Letizia Borghese, but trust me, this racing has been frantic. So Bertizzolo's got the blue Queen of the Mountain jersey, powered by WNT Zeratizit. That's hers with 10 points. She took maximum points. We've got one more sprint in that mountain classification coming up in not the next lap, but the lap after that, so the penultimate lap. Christina Sigard in the Danish national team colours. So far she's managing really well on this course.
Yes, yeah. Just had a message from Paul Wolowski, all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the USA. And he's looking out for Skylar Schneider, who I haven't seen, which is always a good sign. It's always a good sign if a rider's not being visible. It means they're positioning themselves very, very well indeed. But she should be fairly obvious in her orange helmet if she's anywhere near the front. So I imagine she's buried somewhere in that group of riders.
If you're watching wherever in the world, just tune in and let us know that you're watching, and share the fun of watching this very interesting race with Hannah Barnes grimacing at the front. We also see a very attentive Belle de Gast from the Park Hotel Valkenburg team doing really well. Very attentive racing. And up to whoa, that was very attentive well racing and
yeah,
oversteering a little bit there.
Just clipped the curb, and she did very well. Here goes Eri Yonamini on her burrow bike.
There she is again.
She's done well there to keep to stay on her bike.
It's Esther van Veen.
Yeah.
That was good reflexes by Esther van Veen.
It's so easy to panic in that situation and get target fixation, hit a wall, whatever, and she just sat it up, rode straight onto the curb. There was no curb, there was just a little bit of mud at the side of the road, then repositioned herself. It will have damaged her prospects in the race, but at least it hasn't damaged her. Let's hope it hasn't damaged her bike, and she's just checking there by jumping up and down to see whether or not she's got a puncture.
And she's back in the bunch. Wow, that was
nice bit of riding.
Some nice skills.
Yeah.
And luckily we haven't had any significant crashes so far. But we have a very powerful attack by the Japanese national road race champion, Eri Yonamine. Normally she's part of the Wiggle High 5 team, but she is riding as a guest rider for the Maaslandster team. And if you're only tuning in right now, they were robbed last night, their team bus with all the equipment, wheels, spare bikes, race bikes, everything. Everything was stolen, worth over 70,000 euros of damages. And this morning they went around to the other teams and had to borrow bikes to even race this race. And Eri Yonamine got a bike from the Italian Valcar team, and she seems to be very, very well accustomed to it already.
Yes, she's always she's an exciting person to speak to. Her manner is just lovely. She's bubbly and fizzy, and she rides in exactly the same way. I think I'd probably swap a Colnago for a Pinarello, or the other way round.
No advertising here, no advertising.
I'd be quite happy with either of them, thank you very much.
As long as you've got a bike that fits her, that's the most important thing.
Exactly.
No matter how expensive it is, no matter what brand it is, as long as you can sit on it and have no pain in riding, that's the most important thing. You can have
Isn't that part of the fun, the pain in riding?
Well, not pain in your back or arms or neck. You can have pain in your buttocks and legs. That is part of the fun of riding. But always try to invest in a good bike fit. Because you can have the British bike and you can think that is a fantastic brand and I want to ride that brand. But if it's not suited to your individual body geometry, just don't buy it. Don't buy it. Well, we got Elizabeth tuning in from Philadelphia in the USA with some first-year women racers. Welcome, joining here. And she's very happy that we're commentating in English, so she doesn't have to translate anything. Quite a big pack here. I think Yonamine has quite a substantial gap. They can't even see her anymore, Owen.
Yeah. That's good to see her being aggressive off the front. She's got nice form there, nice pedaling style. She's a little bit, she's putting quite a lot into her shoulders, but you can see that she's putting everything on the line there.
Seconds for Eri Yonamine. She's on her way to the climb again. Côte de Curig, and then we're going to award some, no, not some points, that's going to be the last time. Yeah.
You can see it looks flat there, but it's not. It's just a gradual nagging drag up all the way, and then it flattens off just before the climb. So it is a challenging little circuit here. Movistar on the front again. See.
In the blue jersey is number 3 of yesterday's prologue, Cecile Uttrup-Ludwig. And this is Iri Yonamine, we can see that her gap is indeed 20 seconds. That's quite a substantial gap that she got in, well, what, 3 to 4K?
Yeah, yeah. It's just committing. She's committed to it. She's fairly sure that the peloton aren't going to chase her, and then she'll sort of monitor what her gap is before she decides to whether to commit fully to the move and see if she can win the race, or alternatively know that she's just the sacrificial lamb out on the front. But it's good to see the team Maaslanda making themselves known after what's happened to them, and I think it's perhaps a way of saying thank you to the other teams and the other people that have helped them out.
Most of the riders, you can see them here with 165, 163, yep. 162, are still in this peloton on borrowed bikes. So, yeah, kudos to them.
165 is Lauren Murphy, who is the former British Junior National Champion. This is her first year, in fact, as a senior. And she was on the all-conquering junior British team, Live Epic, last year, and she had a very good season with them. She suffered some injuries and the like, which have not helped. However, she's here and she's riding well. She's only been over riding for the team for 3 or 4 weeks, and she's had quite some experience with some crashes and all sorts of things going wrong, not least that of having her bicycle stolen last night. And she even rode she rode the Worlds last year as well.
I think Iri Yonamine's attack might be a little bit too early.
Yeah.
Almost 3 laps from the end. We are on the local laps here, 5 local laps of 9.4K.
She's putting everything in there.
Giving you a total of just over 45K, halfway the race. And we are in the last 3 laps. We are our way towards the finish line. This is the GPM, but next round we are going to award points. But the blue jersey is already awarded to Sofia Bertizzolo of the Astana women's team.
I think this is the QO this time round.
It is. You are correct. I'm sorry.
So with her off
Things
the front,
are going so fast.
Yeah, yeah. So with her off the front, the peloton aren't going to race too hard. It's Bertizzolo is secure in the jersey, so she doesn't need to put the effort in today. She can save her legs for tomorrow in order to try and keep the jersey, and then and
you can also see that the pace in the peloton is down a little bit because some riders managed to come back, like Swiss national champion Nicole Hanselman, who was dropped the last time we passed the finish line. You can also see Chantal Hofmann trying to hold on as one of the local riders, one of the most prominent, of course, being Christine Majerus, also the defending champion in Festival, Elsy Jacobs, and Owen, who was Elsy Jacobs.
Yes,
you know these kind of things.
Yes, Elsy Jacobs was the first woman to win the Women's World Championships, and she was born in the start town where we start tomorrow of Garnish. As I say, she won the 1958 World Championships, and also later that year won or took the world hour record for women, 41.347 kilometers done in Milan at the Vigorelli Velodrome. And that record, in fact, stood for 14 years, which is a fair old decent time to keep a record, until it was broken by Maria Cresari, who rode it at altitude. So you could say perhaps the record stood a bit longer.
This is, I'm afraid to say, for Iri Yonamine, a little bit less than 30 seconds. Of course, the camera will distort it a little bit, but this is not 30 seconds. And she's still got 2 full laps to go, 2 times Côte de Curig, and also that little but very tough hill just after the GPM, because there's not a meter of flat on this local lap. Well, one of your favourite shots again, Owen, especially for you. They can hear you, and there's one of the Movistar riders trying to bridge again.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're just tuning in, welcome to stage 1 of the Elsy Jacobs Festival. Yesterday we started this race with a 2.8 kilometer prologue, and this is stage 1. It was almost 100 kilometers, 97.7 to be exact, and we have arrived in the last 20k. We have seen that Sofia Bertizzolo is now Queen of the Mountain for the Astana team, swapping her light blue jersey for a slightly darker shade of blue. And we have seen a very, very actively racing Movistar team. They have had Alba Teruel attacking, and now one of their riders is trying to bridge again, and the entire peloton following in suit.
It does look like that rider's been caught, but Rachel Naylor was off the front as well. They've, as we say, we're gushing a bit about Movistar, but I do like the way they've been racing. I do like the aggressive nature of their approach. It's been really good. But I wonder how long Ionamine will be left to hang out there at the front of the race.
And you can see that we have now arrived in the final kilometer, and you can see how technical it is with all the turning and twisting, and especially that little kick up the finish is going to be really, really tough. And to also, I think you can compare, Owen, this finish with that little kick up to the finish of the Qatar World Championships. I think the hill is comparable to that.
I think it's a little bit steeper than that. I think it's a slightly higher gradient than that. It's certainly a tough sprint. There's a crash there, crash in the middle of the peloton. We can't see. I saw, I think it was a colour of a Drops shoe or a Trek Drops helmet that was there, but I can't see anything else at the moment.
Ionamine, and she's being chased by Anouska Koster, very well spotted by one of the Trek Drops rider, also number 86 from the Danish national team is Louise Norman Hansen.
I think that was Abigail van Twisk who was on the ground. I think, I'm not certain.
Bertizzolo,
the Trek Drops rider.
Bertizzolo is leading the bunch. Current lead of Ionamine is down to, I think, 6 seconds. These are riders dropped.
Chantal Hoffman there.
And one of the riders from Movistar who has been on the attack. And there is Anouska Koster. She is super, super strong. Bearing in mind that she was 5th yesterday, and that some bonus seconds might even give her the yellow jersey.
Yes, but what she'll be doing here is she may well be striking out for glory and trying to win today's stage.
And if she does, she has the yellow jersey.
Absolutely, and she'll have a time gap, obviously, if she stays away here anyway, which would perhaps even give her the win. You saw something similar happen in Tour of Chongming Island yesterday. However, what she will be doing is allowing Sabrina Stultins and the whole Wild Eels team to sit in the bunch, happy and content that everyone else has got to do the work to bring her back, and that will allow perhaps Stultins to attack at a later stage and
well, I don't know about that. I think this Anouska Koster, and you can see the Dutch national bands on her sleeve. I think she is stronger than her teammate. This must be Balsamo.
Yeah, I just think it's very early in the race to be striking out for glory. Clearly,
it's Cavalli, Marta Cavalli.
Clearly, if she stays away, she'll of the 3 riders there, I imagine she would be the one who would win. However, if they're going for Stultins, she can happily sit in the bunch there and to an extent relax while the others do the work on her behalf.
Oh, this is proper racing. Ionamine, who's been on the attack for 2 laps, followed by Anouska Koster and Marta Cavalli in the pink and blue of the Valkar PBM team. We are on our way to Côte de Curig again, and which means that we still have to do it twice, and it's such a rough hill.
Yeah. Yeah, that gap's going out a little bit by the look of it.
We will see when they pass the finish line. We'll give you accurate time gaps of these 3 leaders with Ionamine, Anouska Koster and Marta Cavalli. Final K. This is the penultimate lap. 1 more lap to go before we know who has won this first stage and who will take over, if not keep, the Skoda yellow jersey. We already know that Sofia Bertizzolo has got the blue jersey, the Queen of the Mountain jersey, sponsored by WNT Tools. And of course, we've also got a green jersey for points, sponsored by, now I forgot, and a
Far Eye Services.
and a, thank you very much, and a white jersey currently worn by Letizia Paternoster, sponsored by Ville de Luxembourg for the best young rider. And those jerseys are also up for, well, I wouldn't say grabs, but they are still, they can be contested.
Yeah, the points jersey is the first across the line for the finish gets 15 points, and then it's 12, 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2.
And according
points.
to my sheet, points were awarded yesterday as well.
Yes.
But 8 points for the leader.
Yeah.
So 8 points for Lisa Klein, which means that we have to do some calculating, which is not my strong suit. So I hope you are pretty good at that. Owen is looking at me, and the answer is probably no. So,
I doubt Miss Clarkson, my maths teacher, is around these days. But if she were and she were listening, she would have spat out her cup of tea.
Well, I always rely on the people sitting next to me, Owen, to do my math. So
unlucky.
We should have scouted you better
yeah.
in your math skills before you would get this gig. This is the peloton crossing the line. One of the track drops riders being the first one, and the gap is 17 seconds. Yep, 17.
Yep.
No, 18 even. Again, Katrien Hammers at the front, and she has got 18 seconds on the 3 leaders, and the peloton follows at 20, which is still a nice gap, but like we said before, it's a gap that you can bridge instantly on that climb. Skala Schneider, we mentioned her before, one of the viewers in America is especially watching out for her. She was the 8th rider to cross the finish, so she's well at the front of the bunch at the moment, the young American rider.
So the first of the orange helmets of the Boels Dolmans team to cross the line just now in Steinfort.
Koster Cavalli Jonamine still giving her everything after the huge effort she's already done by leading this race on her own for well, over 20 minutes. It looks like there is rain. Yeah, there is rain falling now at the finish line as well. We can see some drops on the lens of the camera. Anushka Koster's trying to get in some gel. Hopefully she'll manage, because if she waits too long, it will work after the finish instead of just ahead of the finish.
Yeah. Gels go in pretty quickly. They go into your system pretty quickly, but they're on a decent descent here. And if, like me, you're a sado, you'll be looking at the gears that they're in, and they're all in the big ring and a very small sprocket at the back in order that they can keep pushing on.
Well, if there's just a little bit of doubt in the peloton, and of course Wow Deals will not be chasing this break, but all the other big teams will, because Maaslandster, of course, the club team, Ere Jonamine is a guest rider for, do not have the strength to kind of disturb the chase, because most of their riders were at the back of the bunch or dropped. And Volkar, well, they have some riders to be trying to disturb the chase a little bit, but we haven't seen an image of the front of the peloton just yet, so we don't know what's happening there. But judging from the passing of the finish, we can see that Boels Dolmans are there, just like the Norwegian team are being very active at the front.
It'll be interesting to see what the gap is now. As you say, it is a gap that they can bring back, but any complacency, if they think for a moment that they're gonna
they're done.
Yeah, these 3 will get away. So it is quite tight now.
Very interesting to see that Louise Norman Hansen, one of the riders who went down 1 lap ago, is now actually leading the bunch.
Is she? Yeah.
Tough girl.
Yeah.
And it's raining now. It's not a lot, so the rain, the roads won't be soaked in the next 10 minutes before we finish. But it's no fun.
No, it's no fun. But however, the effort that they're putting in at the moment, I doubt they're really going to feel it too much. It was certainly due some rain today. And we're getting it. Let's just hope it doesn't really rain really hard, and that'll slow the race down and spoil it to an extent.
Cavalli is looking, and what is she seeing? 20 seconds was the gap at the finish line. That was 3 kilometers ago. Everything will come down to this Côte de Curig. Yeah, they're already there, led by Canyon SRAM.
I think, is that Elena Cecchini on the front, or is it Hannah Barnes? You can just about see the national champions stripes on the cuff of the sleeve there. So it's one of those two that's leading the chase here.
Everything's going to come down to Côte de Curig, the 500-meter climb, which averages at about 7%. And who's going to make the jump? Last year, Christine Majerus won this race, jumped from the peloton, and stayed clear with and also getting the yellow jersey.
Yeah.
In return.
They're about to swallow them up. You know, it doesn't even appear that the peloton are putting that much effort in. It's raining quite a little bit harder here at the finish now. And you can see the lens of the camera has opened up to account for the fact that it's much that much darker than it was at the start. It was
nice
blue skies and sunshine, yeah.
Last year, Majerus won Bouillac. For BTC City, Ljubljana was second. Ashley Moorman came in third. These 3 riders are all in this peloton, and they're all the way at the front as well. This is the difference. Nice shot from the back of the bunch, where we can see the difference. And it looks like Park Hotel Valkenburg is also at the front, but most of the riders are Canyon SRAM.
Yeah. What's the betting on the Sabrina Stilteen's attack up the Côte de Curig?
Lisa Klein in 5th position behind 4 teammates. Looking very solid,
yeah.
The work that Canyon SRAM is doing at the moment.
Lotte Lepisto is on her wheel, Amy Peters just behind her.
Demi de Jong, the Lotte Soudal ladies rider in red, all the way at the front. Ashley Moorman as well.
Just taking that corner a bit easier than they have done on previous occasions.
And there they are.
Yeah,
there they are.
It's Hannah Barnes on the front. Elena Cecchini, I think, is right on her wheel.
And they're trying to get Lisa Klein to the finish as fast as they can, because if she can sprint with the bunch, she might even just win this. But just again, the first 30 riders on GC are within 10 seconds of each other. So the chances are that we're going to have a new race leader, and I think the chances are pretty big. All back together, 5K to go. We're on the Côte de Curig, and this is the time to move up to the front, because after this we got quite a furious descent back into the town of
Elena Cecchini is sat just behind the yellow jersey there.
STEINFORT.
Sorry, Amia Lusic. Aliana Amia Lusic.
Christine Majerus, of course, in that national jersey of Luxembourg, getting a lot of cheers on the side of the road, with Skylar Snyder there. Also, Uttrup Ludwig is just behind her team captain, Ashley Moorman, or maybe it's the other way around, since the young Danish rider is actually
in the blue jersey,
ahead of
yeah.
Moorman in the GC.
Yeah.
Amy Peters is the rider in green, coming in second yesterday. She wears the points jersey.
It's a real statement of intent from Canyon SRAM here. They're bossing this race. Movistar are trying to move up, but
this is an impossible pace to even try and attack.
Yeah.
And despite all that attacking, Movistar are still here and got strength in numbers.
Yeah. Well, they got 3 or 4 riders there, just lost it in the trees.
Their third rider is Alicia Gonzalez Blanco, the third rider in that train.
Just pace has just to interrupt, but just dropped off a little bit here. And is that Sarah Rikus on the front there for Wild Eels? Stilteen sat up right on her wheel. Hannah Barnes
All the riders are there, and it's actually pouring down now
Yeah.
at the finish line. And this is the dangerous part, when the road is partly wet and partly dry, which makes it even more dangerous.
Unpredictable, that's right. Yeah, you just don't know whether you can trust the road surface in those conditions. And here we go, on to the final ascent of the Côte de Couric. Expect something to happen. I imagine something will go here.
We see Rianne Marcus and Sabrina Stultjens in green. Amy Peters attacks. Bujak is the rider all the way at the left in the dark purple BTC City Ljubljana colors. She of course was second, so she knows this finish pretty well. But Amelia Usyk is now upping the pace. And what Canyon SRAM does here is ride this fast so nobody can even think about attacking.
Yeah,
Nobody will have the force to even do that.
And the plan is working fabulously, because Amy Usyk is the best climber that they've brought to the race here, and she's a very, very good climber indeed. And she has just been put on the front to contain the front of the peloton.
Can I tell you how super solid Amy Peters looks?
Yes. Yeah.
She is looking so fresh.
Well, she said at the end of the race that they would ride for Christine, and I wonder. I do wonder.
Of course, it's her home race, and Amy Peters told us that it was the biggest race of the calendar for Majerus. And Majerus is still on her wheel, so everything is still fine, nice and dandy. Stultjens and very impressive riding in third place. Elena Cecchini. Where is Klein? Klein is communicating.
Klein is there. She's just there. She does look like she's suffering. So it's a question now that they will have to make a decision between them whether or not they're going to go. Because if they go all in for Lisa Klein, then they may come out of it with nothing. So they have to make a plan. And it's about the riders being honest and communicating with each other. And the radios mean that they're able to do that. But they're on their way now.
They're on their way. This is the final descent. We can also see Letizia Paternoster in that white jersey, just behind Rianne Marcus in green. But Canyon SRAM are playing this game perfectly.
No, I don't think Klein has got anyone with her there. Look, and she's just coming around the outside. She wants to get on someone's wheel, but that is effort.
Hello. Just go take a walk somewhere else.
Yeah, she's putting herself in the wind there. And you can see Cecchini just, right, let's take control here. Lisa needs to get in on someone's wheel. She's on the front essentially there. And you can see the rain is absolutely bouncing down.
It's quite challenging conditions.
Yeah.
We go towards the last kilometer with Christine Majerus safely tucked in behind Amy Peters. And Amy Peters knows how to ride a bike, no doubt.
Yeah.
One of the Norwegian riders coming to the front. I think, she takes Susanne Andersen.
Andersen, yeah.
And another attack from Movistar. If there was a most aggressive team price, it would be Movistar, hands down.
It's just a lifting of the pace, though. It's hardly an attack. It's just a lifting. Is that Jip van der Bos on the front there? I think, or is it Skylar? And there's a little bit of looking at each other. Where have Canyon SRAM gone? They're just sat on the right there. You've got Elena Cecchini, Wow Deals on the left with Amy Peters looking after Christine Majerus right in the middle of the peloton here.
This is it. We're in the last kilometer, last 500 meters of this race. And on the left of your screen, we see that Astana are trying to pace Letizia Paternoster in the white jersey. She was 4th yesterday. This is a very tricky bit. And I hope everybody stays upright, because this is the final K, and it looks like everybody at the front stayed upright, but you can see here that the road is really wet.
White lines.
Oh yeah, we got people slipping away.
White lines, manhole covers. It's just a recipe for disaster.
It's the last 3K, so
Lisa Klein is still in that little front group, that tiny front group.
This is Stina Borgli, but we want to go to the finish where Amy Peters is leading ahead of one of the Norwegian riders, and Cecchini is tucked in behind that one.
I think Lisa Klein is still there. You've got Christine Majerus, very canny positioning there.
Lisa Klein is still there.
Yeah. And Amy's just upping the pace.
And Susanne Andersen is there, Letizia Paternoster is there, Bujak is there. Very serious lead out by Elena Pirone. No, it's not Pirone, but it's the teammate Paternoster on her wheel. Absolutely Fantastic anticipation by Astana. This is a very, very challenging, very challenging finishing line with
there's Alexis Ryan on the front.
Alexis Ryan at the front, and she seems to be, maybe Christine Majerus is going to do it again. We can hear the crowds. We can hear the crowds because they can see the Luxembourg jersey, and she does it. She does it again. She wins the stage in Steinfort again, and just like she did last year, she takes the yellow jersey.
So, yeah,
well done, Christine Majerus.
Christine Majerus in first with Alexis Ryan second, Eugenia Boyac in third with Letizia Paternoster in fourth. Lisa Klein came in fifth.
And that's very important because if Paternoster came in third, she might have taken the race lead.
Paternoster's fourth here, so no bonus seconds.
Yep. If she was third, she might have come close. This is struggling riders at the back of the bunch, but what a very convincing victory by Christine Majerus. And we could hear the roar of the people on the side of the road, seeing that Luxembourg national champions jersey, knowing that that was one of their own, and she did it again. Finish in Steinfort, and well, she takes the yellow jersey.
Yes.
Well done, well done.
As she did last time, so she'll take that. Alexis Ryan started the day just behind Majerus.
Yep.
So, yeah, certainly that, with Alexis Ryan going into second.
Very well done by Christine Majerus, and also I applaud the work by Amy Peters, who's been incredibly solid in pacing Christine Majerus to the win, and she has got herself a nice position to defend that yellow jersey in tomorrow's stage in Garnisch. And it might be history repeating for Christine Majerus, and yeah, this is her most important race of the year. This is what she lives for, and she's one of those riders who works the entire year tirelessly for other riders, and this is her chance to shine. And well, seeing her taking the win is well, pretty awesome. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's stage. We're going to try and bring you tomorrow's stage in Garnisch from start to finish. So we might be with you a little bit early than previously announced. Let me see exactly what time the start is tomorrow. Bear with me. So we might be with you from 2 tomorrow. So giving you all the action from the second stage in Elsy Jacobs instead of only giving you the last 1.5 hours. But just keep an eye on the social media of the race, and we'll keep you informed on when the live stream will be on. She will swap this jersey for a yellow jersey. Great work by the Bulls Dolmans team, defeating the power of Canyon Schramm, with Alexis Ryan coming in second, Eugenia Boyac coming in third. Paternoster was fourth, Lisa Klein fifth, Agnieszka Skalniak was sixth, Bella de Gast seventh, Lotte Lepisto eighth, Demi de Jong ninth, and Shana Korvaar is 10th. Sofia Bertizzolo was 11th. She is the new Queen of the Mountains, and I think Majerus might also take the lead in the points jersey, although it also might be Paternoster. That is some calculating that we have to do a little bit later.